We're diving into one of the most just wild transformation stories you'll ever hear. It's about a guy who was, on one hand, a brilliant scholar, and on the other, a terrifying serial killer who wore a necklace made of his victim's fingers. Yeah, you heard that right.
You know, a story like this, it really makes you stop and think. How does a good person become a monster? I mean, really become a monster? And can they ever come back from that? Let's get into it.
So, look at this. On the left, you've got Ahimsaka, a diligent, peaceful student. On the right, Angulimala, a ferocious killer. And here's the kicker. They're the same person. It's just hard to wrap your head around, isn't it? This is where our story really kicks off.
All right, so Section 1, a scholar and a killer. You see, the story doesn't start with a monster. It actually starts with this really chilling prophecy right at the moment of his birth.
So, the moment he's born, the royal astrologer looks at the stars and sees something awful. The baby was born under the Bandit constellation, basically a cosmic sign that he was destined for a life of violence and crime. And his dad, who was the king's top advisor, was so freaked out, he was actually considering, well, ending the baby's life right there to protect the king.
But thankfully, the king, a wise man named Pasenati, stepped in. He said, whoa, hold on. Instead of violence, let's try the opposite. Raise him to be a good person, give him a great education, guide him toward a virtuous life. And just like that, the king's compassion saved this baby's life.
So to really fight against this dark prophecy, his parents gave him this amazing name, Ahimsaka. It literally means the harmless one. And for years, man, he lived up to it perfectly. He was gentle, loved animals, was super smart, and an incredible student. He was the pride of his parents, the total opposite of the criminal he was supposed to be. Okay, so, Section 2, the seeds of betrayal. You have to be asking, what went wrong? How does the harmless one become, well, not so harmless? It all started with something we can all relate to, unfortunately, jealousy. Pure, toxic jealousy. Okay, so Ahimsaka gets sent to this big deal university, Takasila, and he just excels. I mean, he becomes the star pupil, the teacher's pet, you name it. He's brilliant, he's respectful, he works harder than anyone, but you know how this goes. His success didn't make him popular with his classmates. Nope, it put a giant target on his back. His classmates couldn't find a single real thing to criticize him for, so they just made stuff up. They started this nasty rumor campaign, poisoning their teacher's mind with lies. They'd whisper things, telling the teacher that Ahimsaka was arrogant, and then they went for the jugular. They accused him of having an affair with the teacher's own wife. Now at first, the teacher didn't believe it. Of course not. But the constant whispers, day in and day out, they started to get to him. Suspicion turned into this paranoid certainty, and filled with rage, he came up with this truly twisted revenge plot. He told Ahimsaka, as your final payment for my teachings, bring me a garland of 1,000 human little fingers.
And that was the moment everything changed. Ahimsaka, being the dutiful student he was, felt he had no choice but to obey his master. So the gentle scholar, the harmless one, picked up a sword and walked into the forest. He became Angulimala, garland of fingers. The prophecy, after all those years, had finally come true.
All right, Section 3, encounter with the Buddha. So Angulimala's reign of terror has this whole kingdom just paralyzed with fear, but his path of violence, it was about to cross paths with someone walking a path of absolute peace.
So get this, Angulimala has 999 fingers on his necklace. He just needs one more to fulfill his guru's demand. And at that exact moment, who walks into the forest? His own mother. She's coming to warn him that the king's soldiers are after him. He doesn't see his mom, he sees his final victim. But then, someone else steps onto the path, the Buddha. He sees what's about to happen, this ultimate tragedy, and he literally puts himself between Angulimala and his mother. Angulimala just sees this monk, thinks, perfect, an easy last target, and starts chasing him, yelling, "Stop, ascetic, stop!" And the craziest thing happens. Angulimala is running as fast as he can, but he can't catch up to the Buddha, who's just walking calmly. Totally frustrated, he yells again, and the Buddha turns and says something that just stops him in his tracks. "I have stopped, Angulimala. It is you who have not stopped."
So what on earth does that mean? Well, the Buddha was saying, I have stopped.
I've stopped killing, I've stopped harming, I've stopped causing suffering, I am established in love and peace. But Angulimala, he was the one who hadn't stopped. He was still running, not just physically but spiritually, trapped in this endless vicious cycle of violence.
And hearing those words, it was like a lightning bolt. The truth just hit him. All the years of killing, the betrayal by his teacher, his own blind obedience, it all came crashing down. He just threw his weapons down, begged the Buddha for forgiveness, and was ordained as a monk right then and there. And his mother was there to see it all. Okay, so now we're at atonement and redemption. But here's the thing. Becoming a monk isn't a magic wand. The past doesn't just vanish. His journey to redemption was just beginning, and it was going to be a painful one. So as a monk, Angulimala had to go out and beg for food. But when he walked into the villages he had once terrorized, people didn't see a monk. They saw the monster who killed their husbands, their children, their parents. They couldn't forgive him. They'd throw stones, beat him with sticks. He'd come back bloody and bruised every day. But he never, ever fought back. Now for his unlikely legacy. Those physical wounds, well, that was the karmic bill coming due, and he paid it without complaint. But his journey wasn't just about taking punishment. It was about to lead him to a completely new legacy, one of healing, that was actually just as powerful as his old legacy of destruction. One day, on his alms round, he sees this woman in agonizing, life-threatening labor. He feels totally helpless, so he goes back to the Buddha and asks what to do. The Buddha gives him this special protective verse, a sort of statement of truth. It's really interesting. It doesn't pretend his past didn't happen. Instead, it makes a powerful statement about his present, that since the day he became a monk, he hadn't intentionally harmed a single living thing. So Angulimala goes back to the woman and recites this verse. And unbelievably, it works. It's like a miracle. The woman gives birth, safely and easily. And news of this, it just spread like wildfire. The man who was once the ultimate symbol of death and terror was now a symbol of life and protection. He literally became the patron saint for expectant mothers. There's a verse in the Dhammapada that just perfectly sums up this whole story. It says, "Whoso by wholesome karma covers up the evil done, illumines all this world as moon when free from clouds." I mean, what a powerful idea, that good deeds can actually cover up past evil and allow someone to shine. And that really leaves us with this one big question, right? Angulimala's story is, yes, incredibly extreme, but it forces us to look at the nature of good and evil, the weight of our own pasts, and this just incredible, almost unbelievable human potential for change. So what does this ancient story teach us about that potential for change? Not just in a serial killer, but in ourselves and in the people around us.